some of us who recruited him into politics had a mission. And I will reveal that mission today. General Buhari came into politics. It wasn't his province. He never liked politicians because he believed we are fake and that we don't mean what we say. But there was an incident that made some of us to recruit him, convince him, and use the other people to convince him to join politics. And even though we had our own agenda, because in 1999 and 2000, the OPC was on rampage in some parts of the country, especially Southwest, and have inconvenienced a lot of people from this part of the country. And to the extent that they mobilized over 500 vehicles to come and invade Ilorin with the sole aim of uprooting what they called fulani structures in Ilorin. And we felt that was too much. And Obasanjo was doing nothing. President Obasanjo was doing nothing. President Bola Tinubu, then governor of Lagos, was doing nothing. And some of us felt that those group of people were being encouraged by their leaders in position of authority. So how do we stop that? And I called a meeting in Kaduna at Alhaji Bashir Dalhatu's house in a place called Unguan Kaji, directly opposite the house of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. And some of those we invited included Alhaji Wadanas, Professor Yadudu, Bashir Dalhatu himself, Alhaji Yahya Sulehama, and a host of others, about 34 of us. And we sat down to reason, how do we save our people from this OPC menace? So we said, I suggested that we have to, because you remove government through only two ways, the ballot of through the barrel of the gun and through the ballot box. And they said it was impossible to challenge General Obasanjo. That was how Buhari came to our mind. And when he was approached, he had a very unkind words for politicians. But since he didn't say he was not doing, we still pursued him. To cut long story short, we achieved our first purpose of putting a brake to what OPC was doing, because immediately Buhari joined partisan politics, and we had a very big outing in Daura to initiate him into politics. The Obasanjo government became restive and was shaken to its bone marrow, and because those were some of his our thinking. So Obasanjo had to really checkmate the OPC. So for that reason, we have achieved our first purpose of bringing General Buhari into partisan politics. So the remaining now is history. They wanted to dismantle, as what is happening across the country now. They wanted to dismantle his platform of ANPP, APC, ANPP. And we made a counter platform by establishing the Buhari Organization, TBO, which we used as a platform for promoting his political ideals. Of course, all these are now history, some smart people who are politically ambitious came in and threw us out. That is how we parted ways with him.
In other words, what Galadima revealed simply confirms what many Nigerians had suspected for years. Buhari did not come into politics with the intention of unifying Nigeria or building a nation that works for everyone. According to Galadima himself, Buhari came primarily to protect and promote the interests of the Fulani. And once you understand this, everything about his tenure suddenly becomes very clear. Think back to the Ruga program and several other controversial bills and policies that were aggressively pushed at the time. These policies were designed to favor one ethnic group and had nothing to do with genuine national development. They were not about solving Nigeria's real problems. Security, unemployment, infrastructure, poverty. They were about securing long-term dominance for a particular group. And because of this narrow focus, the rest of the country continued to suffer. Now you begin to understand why Buhari's government seemed so disconnected from the daily struggles of ordinary Nigerians. You understand why insecurity spiraled out of control, why bandits and terrorists operated freely, why entire communities were wiped out without any serious response from the presidency. Many said he was not always aware, but the truth is that he simply did not consider the lives and concerns of other Nigerians a priority. It also explains why a Nigerian president would abandon the broken infrastructure within his own country, yet approve billions for a railway project to another country, while many parts of Nigeria had no functional railway lines. The message was clear. His loyalty and emotional investment were not in Nigeria as a whole. And of course, we cannot forget the infamous Dot comment about the Southeast, where he practically dismissed an entire region and then went further to say they would be taught in the language they understand. That statement was so divisive, so reckless, and so unbecoming of a leader that Twitter had to suspend Buhari's account. Imagine that. Your born president being suspended for hate-filled rhetoric against his own citizens. Throughout his administration, one thing was consistent. He governed with a mindset of exclusion rather than unity. He projected himself as the president of a tribe, not a nation. And Nigerians felt it. Every region felt it, except the one he prioritized. This is why I will always say that 2015 marked the beginning of one of the darkest chapters in our country's political history. The moment APC came into power, Nigeria entered a period of decline, economically, socially, and politically. Policies became more divisive, insecurity worsened, corruption became more deeply rooted, and the country as a whole took several steps backward. Bringing APC to power in 2015 was not just a bad political move, it was the biggest mistake Nigeria ever made as a country. And the consequences of that decision are still being felt today.